Chapter 1. The second time I saw Dr. Adrian Reed, he was stitching up a 5-year-old with a plastic tiara and a suspiciously familiar cat bite on her leg. "Mr. Noodles?" I blurted, horrified. The kid nodded solemnly. "He's majestic but violent." I sighed. "That's my cat." Adrian looked up, eyes lighting up like he remembered me, which, frankly, made my stomach flip in the most undignified way possible. The almond milk incident. "Yogurt," I corrected, stepping into the room. "The almond milk survived. The yogurt didn't." He chuckled softly. "Good to know." The kid was distracted by a sticker Adrian handed her. He had a stash of sparkly unicorns in his coat pocket like some kind of mystical, medically licensed fairy godmother. I took a step closer, trying to ignore the flutter in my chest. "She'll be okay," he said quietly, voice warm. "Small puncture." I cleaned it and gave her something for the pain. "Thank you," I murmured. "Seriously." He glanced at me, then leaned in slightly. "Does your cat have a current rabies shot?" "More current than my driver's license," I said, and Adrian actually laughed. Not a polite doctor chuckle, like a real laugh. That's when the door burst open. 3 suited men stormed in like they were auditioning for a luxury brand commercial. One of them had a phone to his ear. Another was holding a tiny dog in a Gucci sweater. The third looked vaguely confused by the concept of fluorescent lighting. "There you are, Reed," said the one with the dog. "We need you." "It's an emergency." Adrian blinked. "Is someone hurt?" "No," said the confused one. "We need you to pretend to be Carter's twin again. The press found out he has a DUI." Adrian stared. I stared. The small child, thankfully, had earphones in. "You guys can't be serious," I said flatly. "Who's this?" asked the phone guy, eyeing me like I was an expired salad. "This," Adrian said, "is Lila." "She's got fire," said the one with the dog. "I like her." "I don't," I snapped. "And unless one of you needs a tetanus shot or a lobotomy, get out." They all looked to Adrian. He hesitated. I glared. He sighed. "Out," he said. "Now." And just like that, he picked me. I should have felt victorious. But instead, all I could think was, this man is in serious need of rescuing. Chapter 2. 2 days after the ER incident, I found Dr. Adrian Reed in the last place I expected, wedged between medical journals and medieval cooking. In the quietest aisle of the public library. I blinked. He blinked. We both blinked some more. "Hi," I said, wheeling my cart of returned books toward him. "Are you researching how to cure your friends with soup from the 14th century? Adrian held up a thick, leather-bound volume titled Herbs, Spells, and Tonics of Medieval Europe and said solemnly, it was this or hiding in a cave. He wore a hoodie this time, no suit, no Rolex, no CEO entourage with boutique dogs and purses. Just him and a look of desperate peace. "You're hiding?" I asked, amused. "They think I'm at a silent retreat in Vermont," he said. "In the fiction section?" He grinned. "Fiction makes it believable." I crossed my arms. "You do realize this is my library, right? You can't hide from your billionaire besties on my turf without telling me first." "I hoped you'd approve," he said. "I'm torn between concern and admiration." Adrian exhaled and sat on a reading bench, looking strangely normal and tired. Soul tired. Not from surgery shifts, but from being pulled in 100 directions by people with too much money and too little sense. "I just needed a break," he said. "From being their cover story, their stand-in, their PR band-aid." "And you chose my library?" I asked. He looked up at me then, with those warm brown eyes that made all my good judgment forget how to function. "You're the only person I know who doesn't want something from me." That shut me up. For a second, I actually forgot how to speak. Me, a librarian with a black belt in sarcasm. So instead, I sat down across from him and said, "You're allowed to say no, you know." "To you." "To them," I replied. "I'm harmless. But those guys treat you like a human Swiss Army knife." He laughed softly, the kind of laugh that sounded like it hadn't been let out in a while. "Tell you what," I added. "Next time they come looking, I'll just tell them you've joined a monastery." Adrian smiled again. "Will there be soup?" "Only the 14th century kind." For once, he looked genuinely relaxed. And for some reason, that made my heart do backflips. Dangerous ones. Chapter 3, Adrian's so-called friends, made my life feel like a sitcom I never auditioned for. It began with a casual dinner party at Theo's penthouse. Of course, casual in their vocabulary meant black tie, champagne fountains, and hors d'oeuvres that looked like they belonged in a museum. I showed up hoping to blend into the background because nothing screams invisible like glaring daggers at 3 CEOs who treat Adrian like their personal assistant/entertainment. Theo, the smartwatch tycoon, paced the room like he was preparing for battle. Miles, the energy drink mogul, was aggressively handing out samples of his latest rocket fuel blend. Carter, the smooth-talking finance guy, was charming the pants off investors nearby. And Adrian? He looked like a golden retriever who had just realized he was at a cat show, utterly out of place. I swear, Adrian muttered low enough for only me to hear, "If one more person asks me to pretend to be Carter's long-lost cousin or play body double, I'm hanging up my white coat." I nudged him. "Maybe you should fake an injury and stay home next time." "Brilliant plan," he said with a sigh. "Then they'd probably drag me to the ER themselves." Before I could retort, Carter's phone buzzed loudly. He glanced at the screen and his grin twisted into something mischievous. "Well, gentlemen," Carter announced, "we've got a crisis." Investor's daughter caught kissing the competition's CEO. Theo raised an eyebrow. "Again? That's scandal number 5 this month." Miles groaned dramatically. "I'm starting to think we're running a soap opera, not a company." Adrian pinched the bridge of his nose. "And, of course, I'm the designated fixer." I rolled my eyes. "You mean the designated punching bag?" Theo caught my glare and smirked. "Lila, you've got a fiery streak. How about becoming our resident keeper of Adrian's sanity? Keep him sane?" I laughed. "You guys are the problem." Adrian shot me a grateful look. She's got a point. The night devolved into fake smiles, whispered plans, and me silently begging for an early exit. By the end, I'd unofficially declared myself Adrian's bodyguard, vowing to stop his CEO friends from dragging him into every ridiculous mess imaginable. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning, because when it comes to Adrian Reed and his wild friends, chaos is never far behind. Chapter 4, my phone buzzed first thing the next morning. It was Adrian. Emergency. CEO drama level. Critical. Need reinforcements. I groaned aloud. When did I become Adrian's crisis squad? Apparently, his so-called friends had a new scheme. Carter's brilliant plan. Set Adrian up on a Tinder date. According to Carter, the girl was rich, gorgeous, and only mildly terrifying. Adrian attached a photo. The woman's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. I typed back, "Please don't say you're going." "Already agreed," came the reply. "Why?" They threatened to leak embarrassing photos from my college days. Classic CEO blackmail. Just what the doctor ordered. That afternoon, I camped near the cafe where the date was happening, armed with a latte and a glare sharp enough to scare off bears. Adrian arrived, trying his best to look relaxed. Spoiler alert, he was not relaxed. The woman was exactly as Carter described, glamorous, poised, and with the kind of confidence that could fill a stadium. They talked, but I could see the discomfort behind Adrian's polite smiles. Suddenly, her phone rang. She answered, and her expression went from charming to icy cold in seconds. I couldn't hear the conversation, but whatever it was, it clearly wasn't good. After the call, she leaned in close and whispered something to Adrian. He visibly paled. I got a text from him shortly after. "I'm sorry, Lila. I have to cancel. This isn't just a date. It's a setup." Perfect. Just perfect. I reminded myself to breathe. This wasn't merely about Adrian's shaky love life. It was a twisted web of corporate games and dirty politics. And me? I was right in the thick of it. Later that evening, Adrian called. "Thanks for being there today," he said quietly. "You mean for lurking and glaring like a protective bear?" He chuckled. "Exactly." I sighed. "Look, if your friends keep dragging you into this chaos, you need to start saying no." He sounded defeated. "I know, but saying no isn't easy when they control your social calendar and your reputation." I offered, half joking, then let me be your social calendar. He laughed, the first genuine laugh I'd heard in days. Maybe this chaotic doctor and I were in for a wild ride, whether we liked it or not. Chapter 5. By Wednesday, I was officially invested in Adrian's chaos. IT started with a surprise text from him. Meet me at 5 p.m. sharp. Important. No explanation, no emoji, just those words. Curiosity, and maybe a little worry, pulled me to the coffee shop near his hospital at exactly 5. Adrian was already there, looking more serious than usual, fidgeting with his coffee cup. I've called a meeting, he said without preamble. A meeting? Here? Who's coming? You're the first, he said. My CEO friends have been dragging me into their messes for too long. I decided to stand up to them. I blinked. You? Standing up to CEOs? He smiled wryly. Yeah, well, sometimes the doctor has to prescribe a little tough love. Just then, the door opened. One by one, Theo, Miles, and Carter walked in, looking both surprised and amused to see me there. Theo smirked. Lila, the librarian with attitude. Miles gave me a mock salute. Hope you brought your game face. Carter just raised an eyebrow. Adrian cleared his throat. Enough games. This ends tonight. Theo laughed. Adrian, buddy, you do realize you're the one who always ends up cleaning our messes? Not anymore, Adrian said firmly. I leaned forward. So what's the plan? Adrian pulled out a notepad. I'm setting boundaries. No more last-minute fix-it calls. No more pretending to be someone I'm not. Miles frowned. Good luck with that. But I'm serious, Adrian said. I want my life back. Theo chuckled. And who's going to stop us? You. I've got backup, Adrian said, nodding at me. They all looked at me like I'd grown a second head. I shrugged. Hey, don't underestimate the librarian with attitude. The meeting turned into a bizarre mix of serious talks and playful jabs. Slowly, the CEOs realized Adrian wasn't joking. By the end, they agreed, at least for now, to ease up on dragging him into every crisis. As they left, Adrian gave me a grateful smile. You're my secret weapon, he whispered. I grinned. Just don't drag me into your medical emergencies. He laughed. No promises. And just like that, I knew things were changing, one crazy CEO mess at a time. Chapter 6. Thursday was supposed to be calm. I had a mountain of overdue library books to sort, and Adrian promised me a quiet evening, no drama, no CEOs. Just us. Of course, life never listens. Around noon, my phone buzzed. It was Adrian, sounding frantic. Help. I'm trapped. No context. No explanation. I called him immediately. Where are you? I demanded, in a boardroom. The CEOs staged an emergency strategy meeting. Without me. And they locked the door. I blinked. Seriously? Locked you in? Yep. Apparently, it's a new team-building exercise. I groaned. Typical. Without hesitation, I grabbed my keys and hurried over to the hospital's executive floor. The security guard gave me a skeptical look when I explained I needed to get Adrian out of a locked boardroom. Your friend locked in? Yeah, please. After some convincing and a lot of librarian with attitude energy, they buzzed me in. The door was locked tight. I rapped loudly, Adrian. Open up. This is a library emergency rescue. Inside, I heard a muffled Lila. I tried the door handle. Locked. Then I noticed a tiny keypad next to the door. I glanced around and spotted a note taped above it. Emergency release code. Your worst CEO nightmare. I laughed. Okay, guys, this is ridiculous. I called Adrian back. What's the code? Just guess, he whispered. I tried boardroom boss. Nope, coffee addict. Still locked. Tech guru. Click. The door buzzed open. Adrian stumbled out, grinning sheepishly. I owe you one. More like a dozen, I teased. He sighed, relieved. I swear my life is one long episode of How to Survive the CEOs. I smiled. Well, next time they lock you in, call me. I'm faster than security. He winked. Noted. As we walked back, I realized something. This chaotic world Adrian lived in was exhausting, but having his back made me feel alive. Maybe being dragged into his messes wasn't so bad after all. Chapter 7 Friday arrived with a new surprise. Adrian called me just as I was about to leave the library. "We need to talk," he said, his voice serious. "Is this another emergency rescue?" "Sort of. It's an intervention. From my friends." My eyebrows shot up. "Intervention? About what?" "About me being too serious and not social enough." I laughed. "That sounds like your CEO friend's idea of fun." He sighed. "They want me to attend a weekend retreat, team bonding, networking, the whole 9 yards." I could practically hear his dread through the phone. "Do you want me to come?" I asked. "Honestly? Yes. They need to meet you. Maybe you can keep them in check." I smiled. "Guess I'm crashing your CEO party." Saturday morning, we arrived at a sleek lakeside resort. The CEOs were already there, looking suspiciously refreshed. Theo gave me a nod. "Lila, the woman who tames the doctor." Miles grinned. "Glad you're here to keep him grounded." Carter winked. "And to keep us entertained." Adrian looked relieved to see me. "Thanks for coming." Throughout the day, I found myself in the middle of awkward icebreakers, trust falls, which I was terrible at, and endless discussions about synergy and disruption. At one point, Miles attempted to teach Adrian how to salsa dance. It was both hilarious and tragic, but something changed. The CEOs weren't just reckless troublemakers, they were fiercely loyal friends who cared deeply about Adrian, even if their methods were questionable. BY evening, I'd managed to charm them into promising fewer emergencies and more genuine support. Adrian caught my hand as we watched the sunset. "Thanks for standing by me." I squeezed his hand. "Always." As the stars appeared, I realized this crazy, chaotic circle was starting to feel a little like family, and maybe, just maybe, I was falling for the handsome doctor a little more each day. Chapter 8 Monday started with a bang. Literally, Adrian's phone exploded with notifications. Apparently, Carter had accidentally live-streamed one of their late-night strategy sessions, and it quickly spiraled into a social media frenzy. I scanned the trending hashtags, hashtag Dr. Drama, hashtag CEO Chaos, and my personal favorite, hashtag Messy Messiah. Adrian groaned. "Why do they always do this?" "They're CEOs," I said. "Drama is part of their job description." Minutes later, his phone buzzed again. It was a message from Carter. "Relax. It's all controlled chaos. The fans love it." Adrian stared at the screen, unamused. "I'm not an influencer. I'm a doctor." I pulled him aside. "Ignore the noise. Focus on what matters." Easier said than done when every phone in the hospital seemed glued to the scandal. Later that day, a nurse approached Adrian with a smile. "Dr. Reed, your viral moment was hilarious." Adrian forced a smile. Glad I could entertain. When I caught up with him during rounds, I whispered, "If you want, I can help manage your brand." He looked surprised. "You? Why not?" "I'm good with words." He laughed. "The doctor needs a PR manager." "Exactly. First order of business, fewer CEO live streams." Adrian smiled. "Deal." That night, we sat together, drafting responses and planning damage controlled. IT wasn't exactly how I imagined spending an evening, but for Adrian, it felt necessary. As we worked, I noticed something behind the chaos, behind the jokes. Was a man who cared deeply, who wanted to be taken seriously beyond the mess, and maybe, just maybe, I was starting to see more than the handsome doctor dragged into drama. I was seeing Adrian. Chapter 9 Friday night. The hospital gala, the event everyone dreaded, but no one dared miss. Adrian's CEO friends insisted he attend, and of course, I got dragged along as his date. The evening started promisingly enough. The ballroom sparkled with chandeliers, guests in tuxedos and gowns, and a live band playing smooth jazz. Adrian looked sharp in his suit, though a little uncomfortable. I held his arm, offering silent support, but then the CEO chaos began. First, Carter accidentally spilled red wine on the mayor's dress. The mayor's glare could have melted steel. Next, Theo attempted a dramatic toast that ended with him knocking over the cake. Miles tried to fix the mess by juggling the leftover desserts. Spoiler, it didn't end well. Amid the chaos, Adrian tried to stay composed, but I caught him grimacing each time disaster struck. Suddenly, a waiter tripped, sending a tray of champagne glasses. Chapter 10. The day after the gala, the hospital buzzed with whispered jokes about the great cake disaster. Adrian seemed oddly calm, even with his CEO friends still lurking around causing mild chaos. I caught up with him during a quiet moment in the break room. "Hey," I said, sliding a coffee cup across the table. He smiled. "Thanks, Lila." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment before he spoke. "You know, all this mess, the CEOs, the drama, it's exhausting." I nodded. "But you handle it like a pro." "Maybe," he said, "but I don't want to just handle it. I want to live my life without being dragged into every ridiculous situation." "I get it," I replied. He hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Lila, I want to thank you for standing by me, for snapping at my friends when I can't. You're amazing." I blushed, looking down at my coffee. "Adrian." He reached across the table, gently lifting my hand. "I don't just want you to be my crisis manager. I want you in my life. Really in my life." My heart skipped. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" He smiled, that charming, disarming smile. "Yes. I like you, Lila. More than just a friend." I grinned, teasing about time. He laughed, relief washing over his face. No more CEO drama could ever compare to this moment. I squeezed his hand. "Then let's promise to tackle the chaos together." Adrian nodded. Together. For the first time, the chaos felt like something I wanted to be a part of, not something to escape from, because sometimes the messiest stories make the best ones, and maybe, just maybe, this was the start of ours. Epilogue. Calm after the storm. Months later, the chaos hasn't disappeared, but it's changed. Adrian's CEO friends still call with wild schemes and urgent crises, but now they do it with a little more respect and a lot more laughter. Adrian? He's different too. Less stressed, more himself. And a lot happier. As for me, I've traded the quiet librarian life for one filled with spontaneous adventures, endless teasing, and the occasional emergency call from my handsome doctor. We've learned to balance the madness with moments of calm. Quiet evenings cooking, lazy weekends binge-watching shows, and the simple joy of just being together. One night, Adrian pulled me close and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me, or on this crazy life." I smiled. "Wouldn't dream of it. Our story isn't perfect. There are still messes to clean up and surprises around every corner, but it's ours, and that's more than enough, because sometimes the best love stories aren't about calm seas, they're about holding on tight when the storm hits, and with Adrian by my side, I'm ready for whatever comes next."